Alright, how you doing? You alright?
Hello, it's really nice to see you at your office.
Thanks for coming down.
That is, massive pleasure to see how Ashton Promotion is run, and if we can got some good material today about how looking your average day at work.
Brilliant. So my average day is actually probably very different to what people think. I'm not just the boxing promotions. I've got quite a lot going off in my life at the moment. So away from work alone, my girlfriend's living in Ireland at the moment, so I'm flying back and forth with that. We actually run a business together ourselves, so alongside the boxing stuff, me and my girlfriend have got a fitness business. So a lot of the time I am probably more remote than I am in the office. With the boxing stuff, for me, day to day, it probably changes quite a lot. Mostly I'm involved in the social media, so I do all the social media posts, all the posters. Again, that can be done remotely, so it doesn't necessarily have to be done.
Actually, I'm very lucky to catch you at your office.
So you're lucky to catch me here, but it's most of it's done remotely, so I am kind of on the road a lot. Day to day, in the build up to an event, me and my dad will be talking about matches, who we're going to put against who. Like I say, I do all the social media stuff, tickets, all that kind of stuff, and that leads right up to the event on a day-to-day basis. And after an event, basically we just go straight into planning the next event. So once that one's out the way, obviously we had a show this weekend on Saturday, which was a great show. That one's done.
I've been there.
You were there. Not only were you there, you actually made the main event online on social media, a fight between Bailey Brassington and Conor Millward, which
I know nothing. It was boxers what they made it. I only just.
All I know is I went on Facebook.
Yes.
I went on Facebook one day. Everything was kicking off. I was getting tagged in posts. Went into it. I can't remember what the actual post said, but it was something along the lines of Bailey just won a fight. This is the post you put on. Bailey just won a fight. Who's next? And I'm not sure if you mentioned Conor in the post or in the comments.
I'm sure Bailey did it.
Oh, it was Bailey, or
you see that post? What happened there? It was after Bailey won the fight on RECC, and we did interview for him.
Right.
And because he's really young and eager to progress,
he
just put some names he would like to fight for boxers. But everybody been thinking they are a really top class, and they are at some point they could be better than Bailey.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy that fight did happen.
Well, I mean, from that social media post, within 24 hours, 48 hours, that fight was made. All the terms were agreed. 6 rounds, title eliminator. Saturday we had the event, and Bailey got the decision.
So in some way, that what been leading to my next question: how you making these fights happen?
This particular fight, just fights,
all of
just fights in general. Obviously the biggest thing is weight, so it's finding two guys that are the same weight. For us, what we're trying to push more towards these days is local guys fighting local guys. So, not bringing people in from
like Derby, Nottingham.
Nottingham. We've got gyms, Mansfield base, all within the sort of close proximity.
Close area.
Yeah, close area, and that's what we're trying to push towards more than anything, because two guys fighting each other straight away sells tickets. Mm-hmm. There's pride on the line as well, so you're going against somebody in your hometown where obviously you don't want to lose. And those fights, when you're making them, they always end up being great tear-ups, and that's exactly what you want to see. You buy tickets to go and watch two local lads have a fight, and that's kind of what we are pushing towards more than anything, really, and that's exactly what happened Saturday night.
So how many gyms you got in the
gyms.
Usually? Because I every time I come in to see your shows, there's plenty of my local friends fighting there.
Lots of local gyms. We're working with, like I say, you've got gyms in Mansfield, Alfreton, 2 or 3 gyms in Nottingham, a couple of gyms in Derby, some a little bit further afield as well. But we're probably working with, probably about 10 local gyms really. And some shows, one gym might put 1 lad forward, another show they might put 3 or 4, 5 or 6 fighters forward. So it's just a case of then matching those fighters, hopefully with other local fighters.
Fantastic. Now we can move to another part, because you've been doing big shows, small shows, prize fighters, all sorts. Actually, I think almost every type of show you just pulled in. And I'm quite sure you met really interesting people at your journey.
Who have I met in my journey?
I even took photo at Manchester.
Manchester was the tough
yes.
promotions,
Tough
Ashton
promotion,
Promotions, Cash Fighter. Obviously Tyson Fury was there. I've met Tyson Fury numerous times. So you're asking me who I've met?
That is funny stuff. I met him 20 times.
Yeah.
Never had opportunity to take photo because usually I'm on the other side of the camera.
Next time you're there and I'm there, I'll grab you in, I'll pull you in and get a photo with him.
Please.
But you're asking me who I've met in terms of famous people?
Yes.
I mean, in boxing, I've pretty much met anyone and everyone in terms of boxing. I think probably the biggest name's got to be Mike Tyson. So I met Mike Tyson on 2 occasions. But here's the big but. I was only really young at the time, so I was only a young lad, sorry. And I didn't realise how big he was at the time. So as a young boy, I met him. The first time I met him, no, not as in big as in size, as in big as in like such a huge name. So the first time I met him, there was we were sat on a sofa. There were me, Mike Tyson, and my brother. There's a photo on Facebook. We were sat on the sofa chatting about whatever we were talking about. I wouldn't have a clue. Again, I'm not really realising how big this guy was. Then the second time I met him, there was at the venue there was a chocolate fountain. So the chocolate fountains where you put the marshmallows in. I was more interested in the chocolate fountain than I was spending time with Mike Tyson. He was there in the room and I was just stood next to this chocolate fountain. Like I didn't realise. Looking back now, if I was anywhere near him, I'd be like petrified, so scared just because of the magnitude of the guy he is. But yeah, the second time I was at the chocolate fountain. But yeah, definitely he's the biggest name for sure.
Would you like to invite any big name on your next show?
To fight?
Not really fight, just to be there.
Oh, to be there. I mean,
I seen Tyson Fury, I seen Dillian White at your show.
Yeah.
And I got photo with him, so I'm really happy about that.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great that these guys support our events. Obviously, Ty Mitchell's fighting for us, a lot recently, and Tyson Fury is a good friend of his. Dillian White's a good friend of his. Obviously, we've got Lee Froch fighting, so Carl Froch is always there. We've had Johnny Nelson come to our events. Kid Galahad. We've had so many people to come and support our events. And it's amazing to see for sure.
Okay, so when will be next big show?
Big show in terms of Motorpoint. So obviously,
that's what I'm really more interested.
That's what you're pushing towards.
I like prison, but nightclub, that is not my.
You want to get in the big venues. I think obviously for us with COVID, it kind of was getting into a good flow of things where we're doing 2 or 3 Motorpoints a year. Then COVID came and completely stopped it. So since then, we've kind of got back into a flow of things with the Prism shows. Not had a Motorpoint show yet, but going into 2023, there's lots of talks. In the summertime, we're going to be back, big event, like I say, lots and lots of local fights. Fingers crossed, it's all going to go through. We're talking to the guys there now, talking about dates, talking about different things, different bits and bobs. But fingers crossed, hopefully, more likely than not, we're going to be back at the Motorpoint 2023 in the summer.
Last things what I would like you to ask. It will be about fights you really would like to see at Motorpoint Arena.
Fights I'd like to see on our...
Obviously, from myself, at some point I would like to see Mr. Brassington with Mr. Millward again.
A rematch.
Yes.
I mean, that fight between them...
That could be interesting for fans.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, the fight between them, it was great. One thing I will say, I think, probably going into it, if you want my personal opinion, I thought Conor might have known a little bit too much for him. Conor's, has been in there with good guys. He fought Taylor Gregg, beat Taylor Gregg. He's had some great wins. I thought going into that fight, because obviously Bailey's only a young guy, so I think he's only 18, 19 years old, so he's only a young lad. So going into it, I've got to be honest, I thought Conor might have just known a little bit too much for him. I thought Bailey's approach would be, use the fitness, put it on Conor, try and wear him out. Conor would use his skills, stay out the way, and I just thought Conor might have outboxed him, personally. The complete different fight. I think Conor is I've seen Conor spar, I've seen Conor fight many, many times. When Conor's in a flow and it's working for him, he's got the confidence, I'll be the first to say he's pretty much untouchable. I've seen him like the Taylor Gregg fight again, for example. When he's got that flow and everything's going his way, he is untouchable.
He won that fight without any doubt.
Exactly, for sure. He probably won every round against Conor.
It was really, really good fight.
Against Taylor Gregg, I think he probably won every single round. Going into this Bailey fight, he just never seemed to get into that flow, and I think he actually probably thought. I think he tried to rough Bailey up a little bit, which, like I say, it's not the way I like to see Conor fight. I like to see him flow, and I think if he was flowing, he would have outboxed Bailey quite comfortably. But Bailey put the pressure on Conor, and Conor kind of got involved in it a little bit. And at the end of the day, Bailey, in my opinion, did enough to win the fight. Conor got a point deducted for what he did. And Bailey put the pressure on, and in the end, obviously got the decision. 6 rounds, title eliminator. So if that's the fight you want to see again, of course we'd be more than happy to do it. It's a fight I'd love to see again. I think in a bigger ring. So if we were to do it at the Motor Point, more space for Conor to move around, and if that's the way he wants to fight and move around, I think he's probably got too much skills for him. But the way it played out on Saturday, it was a perfect fight to Bailey. I think Bailey probably had one of the better performances of his career. I think Conor probably one of his less. I mean, he didn't, like I say, he didn't get into that flow, did he? That's probably just the bottom line of it for me.
Okay, but now we spoke about what I would like to see. Now, what you would like to see?
Fights I'd like to see. I mean, like I say, I think for us, we'd love to make local fights, local guys, because like I say, there's always that pride on it. People want to, win in the hometown, especially at the Motor Point Arena. I think you've got to talk about Lee Froch. Lee Froch is the big name. He is the biggest name for sure that we've got. And I think a lot of people think he kind of lives off the name a little bit because obviously he's Carl Froch's brother. Not the case at all. Lee is a great fighter. You take the Froch name away from it, Lee is still a very, 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 very good fighter. He's got the speed, he's got the power, he's fit for a big guy.
I think that right hand used in boxing, it sounds really, really crazy.
When Lee lands that right hand, more often than not, people are going to go down from it. But yeah, I think for me, Lee's the guy you want to see in a good, tough fight. I remember the fight he had against John Lewis, which was at the Motor Point. I think it was probably like the 3rd or 4th round, and you could kind of sense in the room it started getting a little bit quiet because John Lewis was walking Lee down, and Lee had a big swollen eye, and it was going John Lewis's way, and Lee will be the first to admit that himself. It wasn't going all his way that night. John Lewis was walking him down. I think it was scheduled for 10. Then in the 5th round, it was the end of the 4th round, Lee caught him. It came out in the 5th round. And when he starts landing those punches and the opponent starts feeling those shots go in, and Lee sort of feeds off it a little bit, and he carried on walking him down. Then he caught him with that right hand that you spoke about there. And John Lewis's hands kind of dropped for a second, but he didn't fall over, so he was still stood up. So he got caught with a shot that completely phased him. His arms drop, and Lee had a free shot on him, and he caught him so sweet. And John Lewis was not spark out. And it was a bad knockout, but for me, Lee. I love seeing Lee in these tough fights because Lee, he always seems to find a way to win. In terms of local guys, he's probably beat most of the local heavyweights there, but would love to find someone that will come and challenge him.
What do you think? Who could be the next for him?
I mean, there's no names yet. We haven't really looked at names. I think for me, with heavyweight boxing, and Lee's actually quite a small guy for his weight. He's not, he's not 6'4", 6'5" like some of those heavyweights are. He's a little bit shorter. I think he boxed at about 15.5 stone for his last fight. I'd love to see him against someone probably like Big Red again, someone that's really tall, really big, really strong, and that will put the pressure on Lee, because I think that's when he performs best. But no, we haven't spoken about names just yet. But going forward, like I say, Motor Point in the new year, he's probably one that I'd love to see on there in a good, tough fight. And along with that, lots and lots of local lads fighting local lads. We've got some women on there as well, which is great to see. And just keep pushing it that way more than anything, yeah.
You will stay with boxing or other disciplines also, they will be included?
Myself?
Like K1 or MMA?
We just stick with the boxing, yeah. Boxing's the forte, it's what we know. We've got, like I say, we've got loads of gyms out there, 10, 11 local gyms. We've got fighters all over the place, and for us it's all about the boxing and, making good competitive fights.
Any plans for Ty Mitchell?
Ty Mitchell, last I heard, he was looking at getting his pro licence back. He's fighting in London. I think it might be this weekend, actually. I know he's fighting either this weekend or the weekend after. Love to get him involved again. He's a great fighter. Again, it's always for him, it's finding people that can come and test him, because Ty's that good and is a great fighter again. And it's just it's finding those matches where it can be competitive. Now, we have got a few names we've spoken about in the past. Since then, that was probably before COVID now, so that's probably coming up to 3 years ago. But whether Ty gets his licence back or not, I mean, I'd love to see it myself. And if he doesn't get his licence back, would be more than happy to have him on our shows, just for him to showcase his skills and so people can see what he's all about, because he's the real deal for sure.
You mentioned on the start of our meeting, as you work remotely,
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of social media work. How and where we can find you on social media?
So social media, nice and simple, Ashton Promotions, which is our Facebook page. Slowly starting to build towards the Instagram a little bit now. It's kind of something I've never really focused on too much, because obviously with the Facebook, it's about people sharing stuff, people commenting. You kind of, Facebook itself, like I spoke about at the start, you can make fights alone just through social media, just through Facebook, and it happens a lot on our events. At this kind of level, all it takes is one post where someone says, I'd like to fight them, or who's next for me. Then a lot of the people that watch the shows will comment, oh, what about so and so and so and so, and from that we'll just make fights. But Facebook, Ashton Promotions, Instagram, Ashton Promotions. That's it. If you want to have a go at fighting yourself, if you're based locally, if you've got a gym.
No, myself, I will
stay behind the camera.
It's a bit safer.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to talk to you today.
Thanks a lot.
And hopefully we will soon do another interview, hopefully at Motorpoint Arena.
Brilliant. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Thanks a lot. Cheers, mate. Thank you, mate. Lovely stuff.